Hi everyone, my name is Shadia Skandani. I'm an astrologer, intuitive guide, and energy worker, and I'm here to speak to you about the full moon in Gemini and the energies that come 2 weeks after that. So before we get to that, let's first have a check-in because I know that from that new moon in Scorpio to where we are now, where I'm recording right now, it has been a little bit chaotic, a little bit intense. We've had that Mercury retrograde, which is now done. So, yay for that. And Saturn has also gone direct. So things are moving into a more settled place compared to what we've been experiencing for the majority of November. And while this particular full moon holds a lot of chaos, and I will explain why in a second, I want you to know that the energies coming after that are bringing us more clarity. That is the entire point of this full moon. It is to bring us a little bit closer to what we have assessed from the excavations that new moon in Scorpio almost forced us into. So we're now in a place where we have all the information, the good, bad, and the ugly, and we're now sitting with it. And hopefully after this full moon, you're able to assess which direction and exactly what particularities are necessary for you to take the next steps in your life. It's not an easeful full moon by any means. It will have an energy of restlessness to it. Continue to have moments where the hidden is going to be revealed. And that is mostly because this lunation is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury, while having station direct, it is still in the sign of Scorpio. It is the truth teller. It is the transformation seeker. It is the healer. It is the uprooter. So we're still in that place of intensity with this full moon, even though it is in Gemini, which is often seen as lighthearted and curious in nature, but we are still in the energy of Scorpio. So we're really being illuminated. We're receiving insights with this full moon around mental patterns, stories that we've been telling ourselves. This is an ongoing process since that new moon in Scorpio. So not a whole lot different, except this is the culmination. The truth is right in our face. And so it's not going to come gently. It may stir chaos. You may feel overwhelmed with this full moon's energy. You might find that your mental chatter is louder than usual. And there might be potential for conflict with others, even within yourself. So take a breath, take a pause, be kind to yourself because this can be a very activating moment in the month. And especially so for the mutable signs. So that would be Gemini, it would be Virgo, it would be Sagittarius and Pisces. So anyone with their sun, moon, and rising in these signs, I would say be extra, extra gentle and tender with yourselves during this lunation and the 2 weeks that kind of unfold after that. So if you're feeling reactive, if someone else is being reactive towards you, it's all about taking the breath, taking the pause, and observing. Being curious, that is the nature of Gemini. It teaches us that curiosity and connection are everything. It's about information. It's about sifting through the information, no matter how intense. So you want to not react, you want to not take action necessarily around this time, but you want to pay attention to what's coming up because that's going to be key in terms of how you move forward once we have completed this lunar cycle and ready to fully immerse ourselves in the new one with that new moon in Sagittarius. Here's the thing though, we are in Sagittarius energy. We've got a lot of energies in Sagittarius at the moment. We have Mars here, we have the Sun here, we've got Venus here, and Mercury is going to be joining it soon. So again, impulsivity will be high, reactivity will be high. So this is it's a tall order or a big ask to pause. It's not as easy as I'm making it sound. So again, be gentle with yourselves, even if you do find yourself reactive during and around this this full moon in Gemini. But again, this is so much about the insights and the information that's being offered to you with this full moon. Now, I do want to talk about the fact that this full moon makes a square to the lunar nodes. So currently the north node being in the sign of Pisces and the south node being in the sign of Virgo. So what does this actually mean? And it is an exact square. So we're being pulled between logic and practicality and intuition and surrender. So there's undeniable tension here between what we think we know, what's practical, and what our intuition is urging us towards. So this is going to be a balancing act, and hence the confusion and chaos here for us. In addition to what comes up from that tension, which is crucial, the royal stars, these are fixed stars in the sky and ones that ancient Iranian astrologers held a lot of importance. They were seen as entities of good, the guardians of the sky, and I've written more about it on my Patreon if you're interested in learning more about them. But I want to speak to two of these right now, because one of them being Tishtar is making a conjunction to the moon, and the other one, Satevis, is making an opposition to it. So what does this mean? Because this is very significant, and the message here that it holds for us. So Tishtar's conjunction with the moon shows us the potential to manifest intentions by being clear on what cycle is ending for us and what new one is beginning. So this conjunction right now, this powerful conjunction with this fixed star is saying enough. It's time to release whatever it is that hasn't been serving you. So if you find yourself having certain thought processes right now that are like, oh no, I'm here again. Why am I thinking like this? Why am I feeling anxious again? Even like health flare-ups, like why am I here again? I haven't had this happen in a long time. And there's something here. There's something here, and we're revisiting it. There's almost something karmic here as well. So we're really becoming aware of what is not serving us, and not in that overused, sense of the term. We really are becoming aware of our own shadows and where our own cycles are getting in our way, whether that is our health and well-being, whether that is our success, whether that is just having more ease in our lives, despite the chaos that's around us. So this conjunction to Tishtar is massive. And then also there is an opposition to Satevis in Sagittarius. This is an energy that offers us the courage to transform. So we're not only just becoming clear on things, we're also receiving a nudge, a huge nudge in that form of the opposition, which is demanding a new type of action from us. We are receiving the courage to tell not just the truth, but to act on it. So we're integrating what's being released through insight and intuition, and then we're taking action from this place. That is part of the potent energy of this full moon in Gemini. There is a transformative energy to it, and of course there is, because this lunar cycle began with the ultimate transformer, which is Scorpio. We began with that new moon, and here we are being asked to transform, to find the bravery, but through the clarity, through mental clarity, through emotional clarity. So I have your full moon readings in my Cosmic Sanctuary membership space if you're interested in learning more about how all of this is impacting your own rising sign. But I will say general themes here to expect are for a conversation to land in an unexpected way. Expect an unavoided truth about someone to surface in the next 2 weeks. And of course, revealed insights about your own mindset. So having that aha moment where you're like, why the hell do I do this? Having that moment of, wow, I didn't see things like that. Now I see it very clearly. So these are kind of the 3 important unfoldings that may happen, but I have details for each of your rising signs in the membership space. Also, if you wanted to work with this full moon's energy, I have a ritual suggestion for you as well in my membership space, along with those rising sign readings that I mentioned. So let's get into what else is happening this month, because while it's not as busy as what November sky was like, there's still some very important things that are happening that are going to be helping us move along from this full moon's energy. So right off the bat, after this full moon exacts on the 4th, we have the 6th and 7th, the weekend that's coming up after that, with two beautiful trines that Mercury in Scorpio is making, one to Jupiter in Cancer and the other to Saturn in Pisces. And what this means is insights, downloads, if you're clairaudient or if you receive messages or downloads, this is that particular weekend. Or if you don't, that's okay. You just create some space for yourself to journal, to write, to think, to meditate, to perhaps go to nature and just see what insights come to you, because this weekend is very much conducive to the clarity that is emerging by the end of these 2 weeks for you. So use that weekend wisely. Right after that weekend on the 8th, we do have a massively intense start to that week. On the 8th, on that Monday, we have Mars in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces. And this is a very tense day. You may feel blocked, you may feel frustrated. And so the key here is patience and observing, again, not reactivity. It's about slow, deliberate steps rather than bulldozing or rushing through something. So the 8th could feel that way. The 9th could still feel that way. The intensity continues on the 10th with Neptune stationing direct. And so it's been retrograde for some time and now it stations direct. And on that same day, Mercury opposes Uranus being in Taurus and Mercury being in Sagittarius. And this brings a sense of urgency and massive discomfort. So if something has kind of began on the Monday for you, it may culminate by the Wednesday on December 10th. And you may want to just, take it easy. Again, you may have some surprises or unexpected communication, but through it, you may have some insights about people and about certain things. So it's not bad. However, it does hold a very tense energy on that day. Be mindful of your own reactivity. This is all information that you're taking in at the moment. And a lot of this has to do with what needs to change around stability, comfort, safety, security, all those themes, where you're being more conservative in your decisions. And by conservative, I mean holding on to something old and needing to embrace the new. And as you know, when we reach this point in the month, like a week after the full moon, we're really starting to unwind. This is not a time to start a new action. This is not a time to move forth, exert energy. However, we do live in these socioeconomic systems that don't honor the rhythm of the cosmos, of nature, of our own inner rhythms, right? Our own pace is not honored in this world. So I know that folks are trying to push through with certain things at this time of year before the end of the year. And it tends to be a busy time in December, but I urge you to take some time to find some ease, some moments of quiet for yourself, because the energies from this point in the month, especially a week after that full moon on the 10th, on the 11th, we're being asked to slow down. So after that intensity and that part of the week, then we move into the 11th of December, where Mercury finally enters Sagittarius. So it's out of Scorpio. And on the following day, Mercury sextiles Pluto in Aquarius. Again, we are getting closer into being clear on something that really we set out with this lunar cycle from the very beginning, from 3 weeks ago. And this point in the month can be a very important moment, especially around the 11th, 12th, and 13th. So keep those days in mind. Think about how your thoughts hold a lot of power. There's been a lot around this theme in terms of the power of our mind, the power of our thoughts, what energies they hold and what they bring into our life, or what they attract or welcome into our life. There's things we have control over. There's things we don't have control over. But what we do have control over certainly is the way we think about things and how that impacts our emotions and how that impacts the actions that we take. And I hope that by this point in the month, you're feeling a little bit clearer on some of your own patterns. I mean, that was what this full moon in Gemini really wanted to show us. So by this part of the month, towards this very end, of this lunar cycle, we're hopefully clear on where we are getting in our own way. So December 14th to 16th is actually kind of an interesting ride. And this is just before we wind down the lunar cycle and get ready for a new one on the 19th of December. So from the 14th to the 16th, let me tell you. So Mars in Sagittarius squares Neptune in Pisces, and this is on the 14th. And this can be a very confusing and draining energy. So if you find that point in the month where you have been gaining clarity, things are coming, they're emerging, and you have this dip on that day and it feels frustrating, just know that it will move through it. Focus on clarity and grounding before reacting around that time. This can be a planetary aspect that can create a little bit of disillusionment. So if you're feeling, whoa, I was getting clear on things, things were moving along well, there's a dip on the 14th of December. And the dip kind of intensifies because Mars enters Capricorn on December 15th, right? And so we're going into a more ambitious, goal-oriented, it's a sign that's not interested in the emotionality of things. So if, you're feeling a bit insecure or anxious or confused, Mars here is like, get it together, we're ready to move forward. And then the following day on December 16th, the Sun in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces, and this can feel like very heavy. You may have some reality checks that you are trying to not have. So, whether it's responsibilities, sense of duty that's getting in the way of what you want to do. And so my gentle ask is for you to trust the process. Trust the process. You may feel restricted, so just check where you may be trying to push through something that you're being asked not to push through. And that's sort of what the 14th to the 16th holds for us, just right up until we move into the balsamic moon and the few days before that new moon. So it could feel, you may feel a bit deflated and a bit tired around that midpoint of December. And just remember, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and know that these energies will move through. We're just wrapping things up. We are surrendering, which is what this part of the lunar cycle asks us to do anyway. Despite the deadlines, despite the demands, despite the responsibilities that you have, in spite of them, maybe your resistance is in finding a moment to pause, a moment to not take action, and a moment to just say no. So with all these energies unfolding, this is what I recommend to you. Track your thoughts. The Gemini full moon will reveal or highlight mental patterns. There will be a lot of important messages around this time for you. The second thing is integrate intuition. The Neptune and Saturn influence both being direct, there is an absolute powerhouse that happens when these two planets come together. We want to really lean into the guidance of our intuition, however, with the reality checks of Saturn. So we're not slipping away into illusions or delusions. The third thing that I recommend, be patient with action. This is really a time to get clear and to plan, but not rush forward with action. This is not that phase of the lunar cycle to do so, and the energies are not fully supporting things to kick off at this moment. But we're preparing for the new lunar cycle to do so, to move forward with things. And another important thing I recommend is to release mental clutter, because to clear the mental clutter, we're also allowing ourselves to have a clear channel to receive insights clearly. When it's murky and cloudy and full, we're unable to sift through what is ego-based, what is fear-based, what is old stories, old narratives, and what is actual insight coming through from higher consciousness, from our loving ancestors, so on and so forth. So I'm happy to say that the next 2 weeks will likely not feel as intense as November did, but we're still needing to do the work of cultivating clarity for ourselves in terms of which direction we're going. especially if we're at a crossroads. And if you're here listening to me, you likely are in that place where you need to make certain decisions, where you need to get clear on certain important things in your life. So take this time to really delve deep. And you can always work one-to-one with me. I do transit readings, and we can delve deeper into the specifics of your own natal chart and what's being activated and what's being highlighted for you at this moment with this full moon on and onwards. Um, so I send you a lot of care and full moon blessings. And I look forward to speaking about the new moon in Sagittarius with you in a couple weeks. Take care.